Hey everybody. So this is an exciting time. We get to start the light management, and that's so cool because um, we're like doing light management, and it's going to look really cool when we're all done. And we're highly informed based on the previous mesh management and camera specifically. Like we have a lot of, and I've been using this thing for a little while, and so now I know like ideas of things to make it better and easier to use. But um, so when I'm now that I'm starting a brand new thing, and pretty much everything I'm doing I have done in past videos, so I'm not like I don't think there's any good reason to actually kind of type through it and bore everybody with my fumbling around typing. Uh, but it does make a lot of sense to explain what I did. So the first thing I did was I created this command inside of the package.json. Um, I called it LM, and basically it just creates a new component called Lightbox Manager, and then I ran it down here in the command line, uh, npm run LM, and so then it executed and it created my light manager. Actually, you can see where I had a failed one before because I always forget to put it in a directory. So at first it created one in there, and then I deleted it, and then I ran it again, and it created the one where I wanted it. So it's pretty cool. And so then at this point, the next step is like, okay, so what do I do? Do I start on the front end? Do I start in the service? What do I do? And the first thing I did was set up the interface. And I basically modeled the interface after, let me go ahead and do this thing that I always do and maximize. Um, so basically, I modeled it after the mesh interface. So the mesh interface, I just copy and pasted this over. Has an ID, an X position, Y position, a form, and a subscriptions list, and that seemed like that made sense to me. But I did know that I wanted to be able to show to be able to search on cameras by name. So for the light interface, I added a name that is optional. Um, so then when I have like a list, I can do a filter and only find the lights that I'm looking for by name. I think that's gonna make it a lot easier to build cool stuff. So that's what I did. Um, so then let's go back to this. The next thing I did was I went into the tab group and I added the lights to there. So let me go ahead and move this back. So that's what added this dude in here, this lights thing tab, and basically I had it include my new lights manager. So at first it said lights works, which was pretty cool, and it was all I always love it when there's an actual icon already for that. So I just typed in lights, and that I got this cool light um, icon. So that made me happy. And then in the toolbox TS, I had to import. All I had to do is import my manager components, which again, that gives me a warm fuzzy because it's like, oh, okay, cool. My manager's not doing too much work. You want the managers managing, and that's it. Not doing any details of any implementation details shouldn't be in there. And so then, yeah, I think I'll go over no, I'm going to go over the service first. Okay, so in the service, I imported our lights interface, which makes a lot of sense. And then I kind of just followed the pattern that we already have in place where I created an light items with the interface. And then I created a light signal that was private that gets updated within the service, but is not accessible outside the service. And then I created another one that is accessible outside the service, but it's not a writable signal. It's a regular service signal. So that means whatever accesses it can't make any modifications. So I think that's the pattern. I did go instead of over here, I called it mesh list, and I called this light list values because in general, I've started to just call everything value um, or values. So that's on when I'm coding in the component, I know it's easy for me to figure out which one I want to update. At some point, it'll be a good idea to go back and update mesh list to be called mesh list values. But this is probably not the best time to do that. That would be a weird commit item. Uh, but I will say though, that brings me to a really good point. Is that we are let's say this was divided up into teams or individuals that are working in different silos. Um, the mesh team at this point is super vulnerable, right? Because upper leadership probably hasn't seen this application yet. If we were in an actual place, so the product manager or product owner or whatever, whoever it is that does the interfacing with them, can, if they're showing this, it's the leadership is clearly going to wonder why this one looks like doesn't look very good compared to this one when this is all done. Or if someone's reviewing the code, they're going to be like, why is everybody else calling it values, but mesh isn't calling it values? Like, what's wrong with that team? Are they just a bunch of rebels or whatever? And usually the developers don't really have an opportunity to defend themselves with leadership. So if you don't have like a product manager or whatever that you can trust, this is a point where you can find yourself in a very weird place. But anyways, that's for people who work in highly politicized environments. So anyways, yeah, I guess that's enough to be said about that. Probably too much. And then I added a function that in the service called add light, which just takes a light item, puts it into the group of light items and executes the signal, publishes this signal. This was modeled very much after the add mesh. So anyways, so now let's go ahead and go into the light manager. So the light manager will bring in a button just so that it looks very consistent with everybody else and it just makes sense. This one doesn't really have a button, but and then basically some sort of indicator that the wiring, everything's wired up properly. And then let's go ahead and go in here. Light manager doesn't have anything in its styles. And then the unit tests are just there. I'm not doing anything with those. And then we have this guy here, which let me go ahead and expand again and then look at this view here since everything is new. So basically we just do our basic imports. We had to bring in the button module because if it wasn't brought in, that button wouldn't render. And then we have our imports of the button module. And then basically we import our ThreeJS service. And by the way, that's going to need some work too because it's getting big and out of control. So we'll probably have to create like light utility service and mesh utility service or something like that. I have to think through that. We have our list of subroutines that will need to be destroyed. I probably should do that. Let's see, implements on destroy, and then ng on destroy, and then this dot subs dot for each. This is just boilerplate. It's going to be really nice. I don't think this stuff is going to be around that much longer, so it'll be really nice when we don't have to do this. Sub dot unsubscribe. So basically, if this component is destroyed, it just gets rid of all the subroutines. And there's subscriptions, and there's likely to be a ton. But anyways, we just add a light here. We basically, this is all basically just, I've done this in for everything else. Basically, we just call the effect that then updates the light list, and then we have this thing so that when you hit the button, this method, so when you hit the button, it updates. So let me go ahead and go back to here. Oh yeah, I always do that, the semicolon. So yeah, so now we have 0 lights if we hit this button. So we know that it's all wired up properly, and that's about it, guys. Well, next time, let me hit pause so I don't get my alarm. next time I'll start to fill out the table, start to build out the table um, that shows stuff, and likely have the forms. Yeah, just to show the data in the table. That should probably be enough for that next one, or maybe I can get to creating the forms for each one of them too, and that would be cool. And but anyways, that's what I'm gonna do next time. Happy coding. Bye.